Hi, welcome to Leadership and Learning, the podcast where we help leaders design learning strategies that fuel growth. I'm Jeremy Robb, a fractional chief learning officer or CLO on demand, helping startups and scaling companies align people, performance, and purpose. So today we're going to be exploring something that's really exciting. And if you've been following my posts on LinkedIn, you're going to notice that I've been really interested in how um, AI assistants are going to be helping a lot of people moving forward, and then how we can train them to become better, and who's best positioned for that. So my contention is your learning and development team. Why is that? Well, look, your learning and development team has the resources to go out and do the research to find out who's using which tools, how they're using it, and how they're increasing their productivity by doing that. They also have the capability and the skills to break down everything that is relevant. So, with learning and development, a typical tool that they use is the ADDIE process, which is analysis, um, design, development, implementation, and then evaluation. The analysis piece generally takes the largest amount of time. And I've talked about in previous podcasts and in previous articles how AI is kind of taking the place of that analysis piece. What AI isn't able to do is to find out who is using which tools and how it's helping them work better within organizations. This is an organizational development structure and organizational enablement that the L&D team is specifically and well positioned to do the research and find out how things are working well. Document that, break it down, and then bring that back into a format that can then help everyone best serve their needs. So, how would they do that? Well, in a typical AI assistant. And so I first want to talk about the difference between AI and AI assistants and AI. Yeah. First, I want to talk about the differences between AI agents, and then AI assistants. Okay, so AI in general, I mean, that's probably easier to be identified as like a chatbot. So ChatGPT, Claude, um, uh, Gemini, something like that, where you're just reaching out, Olama, where you're just reaching out, you're typing, you're getting a response back, you're asking questions. A lot of people use it as a really fancy search engine, essentially. Um, and that's fine if that's how you're going to work, and you can upload information, it'll analyze it for you and spit out a response. That is AI and the AI chatbot. That's kind of like the putting your foot or your stepping stone in there and kind of figuring out what it is that they want to do and how you want to use it. The next phase after that is AI agents. And this is where you have automations that are built to accomplish very specific tasks. And then you kick it off with your AI prompt. So you prompt the AI and say, hey, I want to do this particular thing. The AI will then use the automation that's built and put in place. And this could be through either N8N or maybe you're building that out in ServiceNow or Salesforce or some of these large workflow platforms that have this built in, and they know what it is that they need to do because the automations have been built, they've been put in place, they know what your processes are, and they just do it. Okay, but they do it reactively. You tell them to do it, and then they do it, or there is an action that happens that triggers this response. Okay, that is what an AI agent does. AI assistants is that next level. And this is where OpenClaw or Claude Cowork, Claude Code. You're going to start seeing this in Gemini is starting to roll. Google's starting to roll this out into um, Google Workplaces. You're going to see this roll out in Codex. Now that Peter Steinberger is working for OpenAI, I wouldn't be surprised if Codex becomes a much more proactive development tool as opposed to a reactive development tool. And what that means, proactive, what that means is that you say, in general, this is my job, this is what I do, this is your job, which it saves in its sole MD file, and this is what I expect you to do, which it saves in its memory.md file. And you say, proactively work for me, do stuff, surprise me, and then come back and tell me what you've done. And then the assistant, using a heartbeat or some other method of regularly checking in for cron jobs or anything like that. There's a lot of stuff running in the back end, but they will proactively, based off of your instructions, develop code to either improve itself or improve what it is you need to do. They will do analysis for you, spit out the results of that analysis through web searches. They will make all of this available proactively. And that is what an AI agent is. So why is that important? Well, starting 2026, and this is me kind of prognosticating. This is me seeing kind of where the directions are going because everyone's really excited about AI agents. Every employee, and this is going to probably start in tech first, but I actually see this moving to across the industry. Every employee will have their own AI agent. That AI agent will either be a personal AI agent or it'll be a company AI agent. Ideally, it'll be a personal AI agent. I honestly see AI agents becoming part of the operating system. And when I say that, I mean, like, Apple is well poised for this if they were to adopt OpenClaw or something similar like that into their operating system, into their ecosystem. Just the power behind that would be phenomenal. And given that OpenClaw is generally deployed on Mac Minis, I don't see that as being a problem. So Apple is well poised for this. Google is well poised for this. Microsoft could do this. They don't have the flexibility of phones because the Windows Phone kind of died. But Microsoft has the capability of building this out as well. So when you get it into the operating system, and your assistant is in your operating system in whatever Linux, Windows, Mac, uh, whatever, then it becomes your personal AI assistant. And as you're working, you are going to need to know how that AI assistant is going to be able to help you moving forward. That is where L&D comes into its own, right, in the AI world. Okay, so I know a lot of people in learning and development have been really nervous because AI has been developing courses very quickly for people, and that's great. I mean, I've used a lot of those tools. They do work very well. Not perfect. Obviously, you've got to go in, you've got to do the edits, you've got to make the changes, you've got to pare out a lot of the slop that gets added in just because it's trying to feed a certain number of characters, a certain number of paragraphs. But it does give you a great scaffold from which to work. And in fact, I've developed my own tool that'll do the same thing. In fact, mine does. And well, let's actually just show it to you really quick. So with my tool, the way I build it is you build it, you create a role, and that role, let's go to the Core Studio because I have some that have already been created, creates a learning path. So here's a Chief Learning Officer, here's a Customer Success Manager, MSSP. And what it does is it gives you a number of courses, and in those courses, and for this particular role, it generates an AI assistant knowledge pack. This is an MD file that you can then download when you're registered. If you go to the LMS, here I've registered, you can download that file. And that file tells your AI assistant, this is the role that you're expected to do. These are the automations that you can do for this role and how often they can execute. These are the tasks that require approval. This is what you're going to be collaborating on with your human. Here's the decision boundaries. Here are some standard procedures. These are common requests. These are going to be your risks and escalations that you need to look at. And then here are your knowledge sources. And these would be populated as you build this out. These you can populate as part of your creation process. You can populate this. Now, obviously, my tool builds this out, and it does a fantastic job. Is it the only way you can do it? No, you could absolutely build this by hand. You could build another AI tool that builds this out for whatever role you're doing. The analysis is all there. That's very, very possible. What's key here is that through the app and through this particular methodology, you can immediately train an AI assistant to be an assistant for your employee at a particular role. But it requires a knowledge of the tools that they're using, the skills that are going to be necessary. This just outlines, like, as a soul, this is the knowledge that you should have, and this is what's expected, and these are the skills and everything that you're going to be doing as an AI agent, an AI assistant. But there's still additional pieces that you need to have in place in order for the AI assistant to be very valuable. And that is the tools that they're going to be utilizing. For a chief learning officer, a lot of time that you're going to be spending, it's not going to be in the LMS. It's going to be in, working with documentation and working with planning and a lot of reports. So Tableau, stuff like that. That's all going to be necessary as a chief learning officer. As a customer success manager, very different. I mean, there you're probably going to be using a lot of your SaaS platforms like Gainsight, and you're going to be using HighSpot. Tools like that, as well as probably Salesforce, or something similar. If you have that whole piece built out in ServiceNow, maybe you'll be using it in ServiceNow. I don't know. But you are going to be using your SaaS platforms, and those tools need to be highlighted within your AI agent. So this is a piece of the puzzle, understanding the knowledge and everything. The other piece is going to be the tools, and then the skills automatically added. And that's where collaboration with your IT team is going to be really, really key. But L&D is still the best positioned role to identify what those skills and tools are going to be, so that they can be populated for your AI assistants. Look, long and short of it, there's a lot that your L&D team can be doing for your rollout of AI agents. They have the skills, the analysis, and the connections within your organization to find out what those tools, workflows, and knowledge, skills, and attitudes. How do you approach things? Your intent. If you've read my articles, you've heard me talk about intent and intent engineering. L&D is well positioned for intent engineering, and working with the IT team in order to build this out. Um, that is where you should be focused. If you are going to be rolling out AI assistants in the next year, and if you're not, what's wrong? You really should be doing this. Claude makes it really, really easy. OpenClaw, a little more complicated, but you can still be done. You need to be rolling this out. This is the next level of AI that you need to be doing. If you're going to be rolling this out, you need to be able to have that AI assistant functional as quickly as possible. Your L&D team can do that. They have the skills, they have the knowledge, they can break this down. There's going to be some upskilling. If you're in learning and development right now, you need to figure this out. You need to learn how MD files are structured, what it needs to look like for um, for a particular role, and then how you would generate that per role based off of the skills and the knowledge and everything else that you've already been gathering for your onboarding and whatnot. That's going to be really important. All right. So if you have any questions, or if you have any concerns, or if you really want to talk about this more in depth in your particular role, feel free to reach out to me. Go to robclan.com, sign up for a 30-minute strategy session. It's free, and let's talk. Let's discuss how we can make this work for you and what that's going to look like moving forward, so that you can be ready for this next great leap in AI productivity, so that your people are ready. And we're going to talk about that in another instance, but it's going to be amazing just how AI people working together within their domain is going to be a lot more efficient than just trying to train AI to do somebody's job. Well, thanks for listening to Leadership and Learning. I'm Jeremy Robb, and we'll see you next week for more insights in learning leadership for growth.